Hi, everyone. We're getting there. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. All right. Hello, if you're here, let me know. Say hi in the chat. Just say here, here. I love knowing who's here and who made it live. And let's pause. I would love to just center with you and ground ourselves. Here we go. Let's take a breath. Uncross your legs or arms. I'm standing. Maybe you want to stand, maybe you want to sit. Do whatever feels good for you. Completely just take a moment to disengage out here, engage in here. Taking a deep breath through your nose. As you arrive, exhaling slowly. Feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your feet opening up underneath the ground, underneath your feet to the ground, I should say. Taking a deep breath, sitting up a little straighter, standing up a little straighter. Exhale. Yes, keep going on your own at your own pace. So good. Just letting yourself welcome in whatever's here for you today. Whatever's here gets to be here with you because it's you. And taking another deep breath, inhaling through your nose, set an intention for this time. Even if it's for a couple quick breaths with me, or on your own if you're watching the replay. Opening your eyes, you close them. I'm sending one gratitude out in the world, whatever is for you. What is that piece of gratitude that you'd like to conjure up for yourself? Is it that you got here, or are you listening? Is it for the sunshine that you see out your window, or the rain, or the bird, or the lunch you had? Or what's that? Like, just try to be as present as possible. And feel into that gratitude. How does that allow your body in sensations? Do you feel warmer? Does your heart slow down? Does your chest expand? Does your breathing relax? Does your shoulders drop? You smile. Whew. Thank you so much for that. And I'm wondering, who feels different? Just type it into the chat. Who feels different right now? I feel different. I feel so different, actually. And just a fun fact about gratitude, and you let me know if you know this, but when we allow ourselves to practice gratitude, it's retraining our brain to focus on what? The positive and not the negative, not the criticky things that feel like they creep in and not really serve us. Yeah. So give me a like or a heart or anything if you relate to that and you're up for more positive attention training for your brain. Let's do it. Speaking of which, so our topic today, and I wanted to talk about this because I don't talk a lot about brand, but I think it's a really relevant thing, especially, in the work world. How do we're coming back to work, potentially hybrid situation, or maybe you're out of work and you're looking for a job or transitioning, but how do you confidently craft your personal brand? How do you confidently craft it? Because here's the thing, we all know that we have a brand. We just don't maybe know what others perceive it as, right? So how can we step into that confidence of knowing who you are, right? Who are you? And share your story, share who you are authentically and in what feels aligned and safe for you to share. That's the other thing, right? You don't want to put yourself out there with some crazy thing that might have just happened last month that you're not quite over. right? Like, and you want to keep it in a place that feels aligned with your audience, right? So I'm curious if you're watching this, if you know, how are you feeling about your personal brand? I'd love to know, how do you feel about your personal brand? Just type it into the chat, like maybe a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, I got it. I've been working on this a lot and I know what to say, or maybe a 1 where it's like, you know, I totally don't know where to start. I used to know this and now it's that, and I need some help. And maybe right in the middle, like, I think I know it, but I'm not quite sure. I need a little reassurance. I need to test this out. I'm shifting what I work on, so on and so forth, right? So your personal brand, let's just define that first. Personal brand is how you are perceived in the world. And I think it's Daniel Pink, if anyone knows Daniel Pink. He is a huge marketer. He wrote many books on sales. He's great. I love watching him. I get his emails. I believe he said any interaction is a chance. Oh, actually, I believe, sorry, I'm getting messing up my mentors. Seth Godin, I want to say, said this, or maybe both of them said this at some point, but every interaction is an opportunity for your brand. Every interaction, right? So that's you saying hi in the hallway, or IMing someone and saying hello, or being curious, or not doing anything and avoiding, right? So every interaction is an opportunity for you to share your personal brand. So just think about that for a second. And I don't know if anyone saw my post this week. Has anyone seen my narrative out there, my brand, so to speak? If you've seen that post, just give me some love. Put a like in the chat, or just say, I saw your post, because I put it out, and it's something that I've said many, many times in my talks. So I'll do a talk and share my story, especially if it was a longer type of keynote or something like that, like something where I share a longer version of my story. And a lot of times, maybe I'm doing a training or it's an hour-long talk, and I have like 5 minutes to share my story. So I don't get into all those details. But when you have a post, you get to go as detailed as you want, right? So I put it all out there. I put out everything, kind of no holds bar, on some of the details that maybe I even haven't shared yet, right? And so I can tell you, maybe you've done something similar, right? Where you've shared a story on your sleeve and felt vulnerable. I felt pretty exposed and vulnerable, even though this happened 10 plus years ago to me, even though it was something that I've mentioned many times, dozen times over. It just felt different to write it down and share it publicly on social media, right? So that's hard. And so that to me was a statement of my personal brand, right? So I paused, and then I went back to work, and I felt all these different things, and I learned a whole bunch of tools, and off I went. And a lot of times when we're in our stories, just like we kind of did in our pods, it's really easy to stay stuck on what doesn't work, or the bigger parts of that story that you focused on, right? But the key is, where and how do you make it yours in a way that feels good, right? And that's where the confidence comes in, because we can all tell our brand, but if we feel mucky in it, or guilty, or shameful, then you're not doing yourself any favors. This is not of service to you, right? So the key is, how do you step into that confidence and know that your story matters? Because all of our stories matter. Your story matters. Your brand matters. So type that into the chat. My story matters. And that's, you matter, right? That's like a yearning, a key yearning that has been met when you tell your story. And like when you take the risk to share it, whether it's a writing paper or in the elevator, like we may or may not be in elevators yet, but you know what I mean. If you're walking down the street, or you meet someone at a event and they're like, well, what do you do? So that's an opportunity to confidently craft your personal brand. And it goes a long way. Like, why would you want to do that? So type in the chat, like, why would you want to do that? What would be the advantage that you could have for that? For me, I would get to be known a little better, right? Maybe I get to be seen. I get to be understood. You get to be understood. So these are the benefits of sharing. And then people can support you, and they can look out for you, and they can know more about what you're about, and maybe strike up a conversation that really matters and is helpful. And who knows, it could become a lifelong, long-lasting connection because you were vulnerable and shared your brand. And the tool that I want to introduce today, how you look at this, is actually from what I studied at the Wright Graduate University, which they've taken, they've borrowed it from I think a whole concept from Dan McAdams, but it's called the redemptive narrative. What's a redemptive narrative? Well, think about redemption, right? Like, what do you think of when you hear that word, redemption? For me, when I first heard it, I was like, I'm not sure what it means, but I think it means, how do I feel good about what I'm doing? How do I feel good again about what my story is? So that is what the whole premise is of a redemptive narrative. The idea is that you tell your story in a way that feels meaningful and authentic, but you're actually using whatever was in your path, whether it was an upset or a learning or a mistake or a victory, and you build that into like, how did this help me? How did this serve me? And so that's the power of a redemptive narrative. And I think I invite this concept into personal brand because really that's what our personal brands are, and they can be so potent and powerful when you share what obstacles you've overcome in that brand. I think, right, when you hear someone and they talk about some challenge that they overcame, how do you feel when you hear it? Are you more inclined to listen, or do you like tune out and you're like, I don't want to know about that? Chances are, my guess is, it's actually it's like way more exciting and enticing to hear someone who's got something to share about their redemptive self. Okay, so how do we do that? What does that look like for personal brand? So think about your story, and remember, and all this would be to confidently craft your brand. Step one is take a piece of paper and then write down all the things you're known for. What do you want to be known for, and what are you known for? I would just make a big list, like a brain dump. You could do it in a Google Doc. You could do it in a piece of paper, like a notebook next to your desk. But what do you want to be known for, and what are you known for? And if you don't know, what a great conversation starter, right? Like who could you ask in your proximity? Maybe it's a family member. They might have a little different take, right? If they don't see you in the work world, but that's okay. It could be your kids. Like, what do you like mom for? Maybe you're generous. Maybe you give great hugs, right? Like that would be your family brand, believe it or not. And then in the workplace, like maybe there's a trusted ally you have that you could ask. So the idea is to just get a sense of that, because that's pretty much what your brand is right now. And then if there's nothing on that list, if there's anything on that list that you would like to have but isn't, that is what you aspire to be, right? So then you could write down, what are the values you have that maybe aren't already on there? So maybe that's caring. And, maybe no one mentioned that, and you are a caring person. Maybe it's humor, right? Maybe it's quick on my feet. It could be anything. So now you've got like this solid, authentic list of your traits. So I would check out this list and review it, read it, and take it in, right? Again, this is a skill to practice focusing on the positive. And you might be like, oh, I don't really do that great, right? Whatever it is, allow your brain to shut off the negative or the neutral, because remember, the redemptive narrative is building on all your successes and even the obstacles that you've overcome. Okay, and then step two is write down maybe 1 or 2 challenges that you have overcome in your personal brand, in your life, and your career, or in whatever that field is that you want to focus on. Maybe you left the workforce for a couple of years and you built a family. You had a family and you learned all these great things with your kids, right? Maybe you have a hobby that helped what you do. The idea is it can be holistic, right? But the more it's you, then to me, that's the way. The thought is, this is your self being confident in your abilities, because like this is so true. No one can take away what your obstacles of overcome have been, and what you're sharing, and what your values are. Like this is in alignment, I would call it, and congruent with what rings true for you. Okay, so first step is write down all of the traits that you are known for or want to be known for. Step 2 is 1 or 2 obstacles that you that you overcame, and write down what you did to overcome it, like maybe challenge, solution. So what was the pain point or challenge, and what was the solution? And again, just 1 or 2, doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe the one that sticks out like a sore thumb to you. And maybe you're like, oh my God, I cannot share that. If you're one of those, if that's already occurred to you, like, I can't share that. Here's the invitation. Play with it. So even if you are saying that to yourself, I would like you to think about it like this. Remember growth mindset. That's challenging, but I'll give it a try. That's all right. So type it in. That's challenging, but I'll give it a try. Okay, so then here's how the redemptive narrative works. So the redemptive narrative is essentially the story of you. And it can be very, very high level, right? So you don't have to get into nitty gritty details, but it could be something like the following. I worked in technology for 25 years. And three of my strongest assets are explaining technology, building relationships, and managing clients. It wasn't always easy for me, though. Actually, one of the biggest challenges I faced was ... fill in your challenge. One of the biggest challenges I faced was that I failed, that I didn't always understand the client's issue. And so I took the extra time, and then you talk about the solution. I took the extra time to dig into the questions. I got curious about what they were working on, and I came up with a proposal that helped them understand what we could do differently. And as a result, and you say what the result is. And as a result, I've helped dozens more clients since then do the same thing and save thousands of dollars in their annual budgets for marketing. And then you can insert something personal too. But the idea is that when you have the facts, your confidence can really be ignited because it's you. Does that make sense? You're not making stuff up. You're not bringing things in that don't make sense. It's like, this is authentically and like inadvertently your story. And I think we get, we hear all the time some basic standard stories that are really about accomplishments, and those are great, nothing wrong with that. But when we can make it personal and we can bring in things that we've shifted and redeem it, then I think, and I believe that it adds strength and value to your personal brand, right? Because we see the person clearer. You are seeing more clear, you are more understood, and you are more seen, and people value that, and you were vulnerable. All right, so what are we going to do? How are we going to craft our personal brands? Who wants to share? Just go ahead and type it in. If there's a theme that you have, go for it. But the 3 steps are: make the list of what you're known for, what you want to be known for. What are 1 or 2 challenges you overcame, and what was the solution? What was the pain? What was the solution? And then put it into the story. Actually, like, it could be a paragraph, and my thought is it's 5 or 6 sentences tops, right? And that's a redemptive narrative in service to your personal brand. And I think they go really well together, and it adds another layer and level towards how you speak about yourself, right? And the confidence will come with that. And it might feel really scary and awkward, right? Because that's probably a new way to be sharing about yourself. But that's the invitation, is to try it on, right? And practice. So when you have it written down, maybe a Google Doc, you've written that down, because a lot of us are working on brand, but we don't dedicate the time to put it together. Read it out loud to yourself. You can record it on your phone so that you can play it back. And that's always horrible, right? Who wants to listen to themselves? But this pause is so worth it, because this is going to add so much value to how you speak about yourself, how you hold yourself, and you are going to be more known in a good way. Okay. And I love supporting women on this, by the way. And I think it's really important that we get clear on our brand, because it's really about being true to who you could become, your authentic self. That's what being authentic is. And that's what personal brand is not something that's not you. You don't want a personal brand that doesn't align with you, because then guess what? People will think that's you. And then whatever that gets called upon for you, if you end up speaking to someone, and you just won't come across as genuine as you could, right? Like, who wants to do that? Show up for you. And I promise it will pay off. And if you're interested to get support on this, so you want to get clear maybe on that one challenge or second challenge, or like what your values are, that's what I would love to support you on today. Okay, so I've opened up my calendar, and I would invite you to sign up for a 30-minute one-on-one pause to amplify your impact strategy session. Okay, so I'll put the link in the chat. But basically, the pause to amplify your impact strategy session, I've got a couple of days next week that are on the calendar for this. And the idea is that you can get clear on this. So if you're like, how do I start? I don't know what she's talking about. Redemptive narrative, like, I guess that would help me, but like, what does that even mean? But there's a desire for you to get clear, right? Like, this is so important. And I wouldn't say it's something that you think of normally, but here's the thing. When I help women amplify their impact, get out of overwhelm, feel less stress, like if you're clear on your brand, it's so much easier everywhere. Like, you know, and you get clear on values that you hold. Maybe you spend more or less time talking to someone that you're already not, or maybe you're not talking to them at all. And you're like, you know what? I actually have a lot in common with this person. I probably should reach out and say hi. And maybe we schedule a coffee or a Zoom, whatever works these days. Okay. So who's up for that? Just going for it and trying to update your personal brand. And remember, the redemptive narrative is a tool. It's an asset to tell your whole story. All right, and book a call. Let's do it. It'd be so fun to say hello. I'm a big fan of in-person or Zoom calls, I would say, to get clear, right? That's really what this is. And I will add that value for you. We'll work on it together, come up with recommendations with how you could use this. What else would you want to do with this? You know, it's really just, it's a session for you to dive deep and go into what you need. All right, so with that, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend this Friday. What are you doing this Friday? Love to hear. Just type it in. How are you pausing? What's something you're looking forward to? Training our brains again. And I will see you on the flip side. I will see you next week. I look forward to it. Stay tuned for some messages. We're going to be having another masterclass coming up in a week and a half. And I'm really excited. It's going to be for women leaders just like you, who want to get out of the overwhelm, who want to be better influencers, to be seen, to be heard, to have value and be respected for that. And I can't wait to share. So long for now. Hugs, 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 kisses, and enjoy and have fun with that redemptive narrative. It is a powerful, powerful tool. Bye-bye.